2020 has been a year that I don't think anyone will soon forget. The music industry went through a lot of change this year, and nostalgia seemed to be the biggest theme. So today I'm going to talk about 10 trends we saw in music this year, and I'll be sharing my thoughts as to what's to come in 2021. So let's blast off and get started. JM in your universe. Konnichiwa friends, I'm Jonathan Miller and welcome back to Jonathan Miller Music, helping you become a better indie artist. I make electronic dance pop music and every Wednesday on this channel I'm helping others take their music to level 2. If that sounds good, consider subscribing and ringing the notification bell. If not, oh, okay, I get it, you're not as fun as me. I'll just hang out by myself, alone, with no friends. Again, Merry Christmas. Just kidding. Subscribe! Alright, so today we're going to reflect on 10 trends that happened in music in 2020 and talk about how they may or may not be here in the new year and what that might mean for you and me as indie artists as well. Also, I'll talk more about this a little bit later, but I did want you to know that this is my last official new video for this year. I'm taking my traditional 2 weeks off from this channel at the end of the year, like I've done for the last 10 plus years on this channel. I will say though that there will be one more bonus little video next week, but like I said, we'll talk more about that in a little bit. I just wanted to give you a heads up in case you're one of those people who doesn't want to watch all the way till the end. Just teasing. Anyway, let's just jump right in. Number 10, the 70s revival. So the first trend in 2020 that we saw with songs like Say So by Doja Cat, and even a little bit with Dua Lipa's Future Nostalgia album, artists seemed to dip their toes either sonically or visually into the 70s for 2020. This seemed to be a bit more common in the first half of the year and a little bit before and a little bit after the pandemic started because everyone's schedules got thrown off. So disco's kind of been popping up all over the place. For me, it seemed to come like out of left field, but for a lot of artists, it really worked. I know it might have seemed a little hectic to some people as the music industry tried to figure out this uncharted territory, but I will say that the 70s trend is probably starting to decrease a little bit now for another trend, which we'll talk about in just a second. But I do think that going into 2021, we'll probably see a few more elements of this for people that were working on music this year and that are releasing it next year. It's probably gonna come in a little bit. So if you're planning a musical release that has a little bit of a 70s throwback to it, I think you're gonna be okay. Number 9, Synthwave and the 80s go mainstream. As if repeating time itself, it seemed like in the second half of this year that many artists found inspiration in the 80s and that synthwave sound across the globe. From K-pop groups like Everglow and Twice, to Western artists like Miley Cyrus, and of course the king of 2020 himself, The Weeknd, synthwave and that 80s throwback really made its way into the limelight. I believe that we'll definitely see more of this going into 2021. It feels like enough nostalgia for people, because we all obviously hated 2020 and cannot wait to get out of this year, but enough newness to bring fresh elements to the table. I think it will eventually morph into something new for the new decade, but I do think that that 80s vibe is gonna stick around a bit. I think it's just hitting people in the right emotional wavelengths after kind of a lot of trial and error and craziness this year. So if your music is 80s influenced, you're probably gonna be safe too. Number 8, an indie feel and tone. The pandemic took a lot of artists' access to big studios away from them, and a lot of major label artists had to figure out how to do music like indie artists do from home. Therefore, a lot of mixes and masters that were released this year weren't quite as clean or as polished as they might have otherwise been, at least like in the middle of the year. This wasn't always true. We were all in our homes separated. Supplies were hard to find at times, and there was a lot of isolation. People had to work remotely. They had to figure out how to work remotely. So people had to get inventive. You can even hear that intimate and rougher sound in artists like Taylor Swift, who released Folklore, which had her change her entire genre. Now at this point, people have kind of figured everything out now, and we're doing our best to make do. But I think this brought back an appreciating for flaws and imperfections in recordings, because sometimes those imperfections in a recording are the most beautiful. And while what defines indie may change, I do think that this kind of leveled the playing field, so to speak, between indie artists and major label artists, and it's definitely something I'll be watching as 2021 unfolds for sure. Number 7, shorter song lengths. In 2019, the average song length dropped by 30 seconds in pop music, with the average runtime being about 3 minutes. That's it. Now 2020 was really very consistent with that. Some people say it's due to our shorter attention spans or the Spotify effect, effect, which basically means that longer songs tend to get skipped before they're finished when people are listening, whereas shorter songs perform better and people are listening to more of the song rather than skipping it after a certain point. We kind of saw this executed really well with aespa's debut song Black Mamba, which broke records by becoming the highest view count for a K-pop group on the first day of its release, with over 21.4 million views. That's insane. Now, Black Mamba, one of my personal favorite standout tracks from 2020, just saying, is only 2 minutes and 55 seconds long. That's only 5 seconds shorter than the average, and it still takes you on a journey with peaks and valleys, but every measure is auditorially interesting. Not including the music video, not including all of that. This trend I definitely think will stick around in 2021. How far it dips down or stays consistent, I'm not sure. But I will say, in my comment sections, I have noticed that there is a distaste from fans when an album or a song is too short. People feel like they're not getting the full musical experience. I saw that critique a lot with Ariana Grande's album Positions. So there is such a thing as too short, so keep that in mind going into next year. Number 6, mixing up traditional pop structures. A lot of music threw the rule books right out the window this year because there was a lot of structure and arrangement experimentation. Like Black Mamba, which I just mentioned, utilizing a hybrid of a drop chorus and a traditional chorus to create something larger than life, or in songs like Shut Up by Ariana Grande, which has a 30-second classical-inspired outro to it. People played around a lot, which was really fun and exciting. It kept things fresh, and I definitely think we're gonna see that in 2021 as well. Number 5, genre bending and exploration. Going off of my previous point, genre exploration and stepping out of genre boundaries was really celebrated this year. We saw artists like Rina Sawayama, Poppy, FKA Twigs really push the boundaries of their umbrella genre in ways that you wouldn't expect. This I 100% expect to see in 2021 as well. Music is evolutionary, it changes, people's moods are gonna change, so think outside the box with your arrangements, because you never know what's gonna resonate with people. If you're unsure of how to define your sound, that may end up being your biggest asset. Number 4, the rise of live streaming. Quarantine made us all get a little inventive. Remember how annoyed we all were at the beginning of the pandemic when we all got notifications on our phone that so-and-so is going live on Instagram? People this year really learned to utilize technology and keep us connected in the months that we've been apart. I saw virtual concerts or cast reunions or just fun reconnections like on Miley Cyrus's show on Instagram. People really used live streaming to actually reinforce the importance of human connection rather than advance away from it. That was really beautiful to see. I definitely predict live streaming will stick around for 2021. It's just really integral to society now, especially as traditional touring or physical concerts remain up in the air or canceled altogether. If you're planning on promoting your music in 2021, be sure to use live streaming. Number 3, multiple promo videos. If you saw my video this year on how to get on the Billboard charts part 2, you know that I discussed new chart rules that now include YouTube streams toward chart eligibility. So we saw artists like Justin Bieber this year have multiple different formats for each single release or even every song on the album, like official audio videos, lyric videos, music videos when people could do them safely. I expect this to stick around in 2021. They may do a few changes here and there, but I really think that YouTube is super integral to the music industry now, that it really just makes sense for it to stick around. And because it was included, it helped a lot of indie artists and major label artists get on the Billboard charts. So prepare to have multiple visuals for your music in 2021, especially if you're chasing chart placement. Just make sure to have your ISRC in all of those videos as well for tracking purposes. Number 2, digital sales up, physical sales down. A trend continuing from 2019, overall digital sales are still higher than physical sales of music in 2020. The only exception to this is vinyl, which, given 2020's theme of nostalgia, makes sense. Vinyl records were up $102.2 million over CD sales in 2020, according to Business Insider. Americans spent more on vinyl records than CDs in 2020 for the first time since the 1980s. So, in 2021, keep an eye on this if you plan on releasing your music physically. Vinyl appreciation could be around for a while longer, regardless of your genre, so keep that in mind. Before we get to number 1, I did just want to share one little bonus trend that has started to occur that I think is definitely worth noting, and that is early 2000s nostalgia. It has really begun to rise right now. A lot of 2000s babies are entering their 20s, and so you should be aware of that if you're creating music in 2021. Now, the interesting thing is that no one can really decide what part of the 2000s they're nostalgic for. That will probably work itself out here soon. I expect it to be like 2004, 2005 pop rock, but I've seen a lot of nostalgia for like 2010 to 2012 pop music. Anyway, just thought I would bring it up so you're aware going forward. Anyway, our number 1 trend in music this year, diversity reigns supreme. The music charts in 2020 were the most diverse that I have ever seen them. I'm not just talking ethnicities and nationalities, but also in genres of music. Pop, hip hop, rap, R&B, K-pop, Latin pop, rock, all ruled the charts this year. BTS made Billboard history by being the first Hot 100 #1 song to be sung predominantly in Korean, and it got 14.9 million streams in its first week. That's insane. The Weeknd, a Black artist, stayed in the Billboard top 10 all year with Blinding Lights, and at some points top 5, which is the first time that's happened in the entire chart's 62-year history. As our world grows more technologically connected, it's beautiful to see people of all walks of life seeing success and shattering records. We still have a long way to go, but seeing that level of diversity, not just in music, but in popular music, really brings together all of these elements and trends and more. In spite of real sadness, fear, and panic, music seemed to bring more voices to the forefront, and that is something to really look forward to in 2021. So that is my video on trends in 2020 and some predictions for 2021. Question of the video, what trends do you expect to see in 2021? Leave me your thoughts in the comments below. And before you go, I did just want to say that again, this is my last brand new video for 2020. However, next week I will be posting my second TikTok compilation. I know not everybody follows me over there, so that's been a really great way for people to see those videos as well. I traditionally take the last 2 weeks off of the year from this channel to kind of be with family and friends for the holidays, but I got vertigo for like 2 weeks, and I had originally planned to go straight through every Wednesday until this little break, but in 2020 fashion, my body was really out here saying, no. So enjoy that little video next week. I hope you have a wonderful, fantastic holiday season. My career has been really changed this year, and it's all because of you guys, and I appreciate all of your support this year. It really means so much to me. I can't thank you enough. It's been incredible. I love you all, and I hope you have a wonderful new year. We're almost done with 2020. But anyway, if you like me and you like what I do, consider joining me on Patreon like Maddie here and all these fantastic people to get all sorts of fun rewards, including access to my YouTube calendar to see what's coming to the channel in 2021. But as always, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like on it and subscribe if you're new. I put out new videos every single Wednesday. Once again, I'm Jonathan Miller, and I will see you next time. See you in 2021. I am a machine.